Hey everybody, welcome back to the sim. I've got two programs that are very popular right now that I just purchased, and I wanted to give a review on them and also talk a little bit about the configuration and settings of those two programs. One of which is Active Sky, the other is Rex Atmos. And I'm gonna say right now I've already kind of played around with Active Sky a little bit. Just by itself, 100% is a great buy as far as the price goes, but also the amount of realism that it adds. The weather that it adds is stunning, to say the least. I played a little bit right after I got it this week, and just set it to live weather and flew around, and the amount of turbulence that it adds when you're flying through clouds and what you're seeing adds a completely different level of immersion to this flight simulator. So I highly recommend it even just for that. But I think after you see some of the other settings that we're going to talk about here, you'll even see more of a reason why. Rex Atmos, of course, has been very popular on the internet here recently, and I saw it and was pretty shocked by it as far as what it does for the colors and the sky and just the whole atmosphere and everything inside the sim. And I decided to get it. The price was right, and I believe it's going to be uh, available for Flight Simulator 2024 also. But honestly, we still have 2 or 3 months, or I guess 2 months now, until 2024 comes out, and maybe it's 1 month now. I the days stream together for me. But anyway, this is worth this is worth it to me, just because of how much it enhances the look of the sim. So let's talk about how to actually configure Rex Atmos and how to adjust the colors and the uh, I guess atmosphere, weather, environment, color shaders in this program, because it is a little bit wonky when it comes to that. Sorry, lost my microphone there for a second. So Active Sky, um, I'm not really going to go much into the settings on that because realistically, I like to fly with live conditions all the time. And uh, really, for that, I just click the live weather and leave it at that. The clouds and things that it adds to the live weather is pretty amazing. And I think we can do a little comparison real quick. I can show you. What I'm going to do is right now in the sim, I'm going to switch from the Rex Atmos weather to live weather. And there's no METAR available for the area I'm in, and we're in kind of a special area, and I'll show you later. But let's look. So this is the default. Let me close this for us. This is the default Sims weather. describe it probably as partly cloudy, maybe, potentially clear skies. You know, partly cloudy out in the distance, as those clouds are quite a bit away from us. So there's that. Let's turn the active sky weather back on. Ooh, it looks like active sky overwrote. Maybe I can't show you. Let's see here. Let's see if I can force it to show us, because I'd really like to do kind of a side-by-side comparison. So yes, I'm going to close. Okay. And now I'm going to switch to live weather. Okay, so the Sims version of the current weather, which is definitely clear skies. Potentially they're calling that partly cloudy, maybe. But not much action that you see up here. And also notice the way that the sun looks as well. So let me go ahead and switch the weather back to the clear skies preset. And now this is, you don't have to do this. This active sky will automatically handle that for you, but you kind of want to start out with the clear skies preset, and then oops, wrong one, active sky. So once I got active sky loaded, it takes a little while for it to actually download the weather data for your specific GPS location that you're at. Alright, and let's take a look at the conditions. So partly cloudy, and it gives us 3,000, 6,000, 9,000, 12,000. It gives us all the altitudes, you know, all the way up to 50,000 feet. So that's cool. It actually gives us, you know, full three-dimensional weather information. And also you can scroll in and actually look at, from a map standpoint, what the weather looks like. And I'm guessing that that is wind shear, so that's going to be something interesting. I might go fly over there and try to experience, because I did see that in the option settings for here for active sky. I'm not sure if it does it. I'm not sure how it exactly works with the PMDG, but for example, let me see. Where is the setting in here? So wind shear warning message, like the RO warning alert for wind shear. I want to see if that works, because that would be really cool if it did. There's definitely some times when Microsoft Flight Simulator likes to throw in a wind shear, and of course there's no there's no warning about it, and you just all of a sudden drop out of the sky or shift over, you know, up or down a couple of feet. It's like you go through a small microburst and there's no warning. I think you can see that kind of on our previous video when I was flying into Nashville during Helene. You could see me kind of shift off to the side of the runway, and that's Microsoft's weather for you. So anyway, active sky, let's go look at what its interpretation of the current weather condition is. So first of all, note, see how the sun has a lot of haze around it? That's for sure a real interpretation. And then here's it's partly cloudy. So definitely some more action going on, some more realistic looking clouds in the area. So that's definitely just a very small sample of the thing that I wanted to show today. But let's get into it a little bit more. So the thing that I wanted to show you is a combination of Rex Atmos and Active Sky, and about configuring it. So what I have done for us is I actually took I wonder why it's not letting me show you all the picture. Hold on, let me work on that. Alright, there is get the other representative picture. And let me set something here, because apparently I don't know if SteelSeries just did an update or something, but it's being very aggressive about shutting off the microphone right now due to inactivity. I mean my headset due to inactivity, and I don't want it to do that while I'm talking. Well, I don't see it here right away. I'll have to... Yeah, I found it. Yeah, I don't want this to be shutting off the microphone. Mid-conversation, like we had a couple flights ago. That was upsetting. So anyway, what I wanted to do was show you how I'm going to configure Rex Atmos and Active Sky. Why did that just stop? That is so strange. So let me actually put this into windowed mode real quick. Just so we can have a side-by-side view. So first thing I'm going to do is pull up Active Sky, and I'm going to switch to historical weather, and I'm going to switch to the day where I took this picture. And as you'll know, or as you can see, where we are in the sim is where I took this picture. So I've got real world comparison of the weather and the look. Most importantly, the look, the colors, the way that the haze looks off in the distance, the shape of the clouds, the blueness of the sky, how the grass and trees look. That's mainly why I took this picture, because what I'm going to try to do is match the colors that are displayed in the sim as close as possible to real life. And I did that by taking a picture of the actual location, and now I'm going to match it. So first of all, this was taken on Thursday the 3rd at approximately noon. So that would be 5 p.m. UTC. So I'm going to go ahead and set this to Thursday. PM UTC. And while Active Sky is downloading the weather, I'm also going to go into the sim and change the time to October 3rd. Not that the actual date and matters, but the time does matter, because it changes the position of the sun in the sim. And here, you know, I hate these slider bars, which we're going to hear a little bit more about in a second, because they're so unprecise. So that's about as close as I'm going to get to 12 p.m. And just for that sake, let's make sure that we have exactly the same time set in Active Sky. And now Active Sky takes a little bit to download the weather, but you connect your Navigraph account to Active Sky, and Navigraph actually updates the AirAct cycle in this as well. So I have not flown a flight with this yet, but from my understanding is that it will pre-download the weather for your route and keep track of that while you're going. There's settings in here where you can adjust when it will apply weather changes, and specifically there's an option that allows you to disallow the updating of data when you are close to the ground or when you're on approach. So that's a key importance, because I know Microsoft Flight Simulator was, with their weather, was really bad about all of a sudden you just hitting a block of different weather at a specific point in time. So there we go. We can see in the background that the weather has updated, and this is Active Sky's interpretation of what the weather looked like on that day from this position. Not exactly the same, I would say, but how is it going to know everything? I mean, that's better off than what the flight simulator's interpretation of the weather was, or historical weather was at the time. So that's pretty good. We're basically looking at the same view here. So now the next thing that I want to do is I'm going to work at adjusting the color shading of these images, of this image, to match what we are seeing in the actual picture. So let me move this up a little bit without it maximizing. And first I want to work on the clouds. So let me pull Rex Atmos down here, and now let me go over this a little bit. So with Rex Atmos, there's 3 different profiles. There's a weather profile, there's an atmosphere profile, and then there's an environment profile. So you need to have a preset of settings set for each one of the 3 profiles, because each set of sliders located within each one of these sections adjust different things, and then all 3 combined together is the total, if that makes sense. So you have to make 3 separate settings for each category in order to have the entire combined effect. So right now what you're seeing is without Rex Atmos applied. So you have the option to pull in community developed presets. So you've got atmospheric presets, environmental presets, there's weather presets in here, and you can actually go and search for different sets using the public feature. You can search for different sets of weather and other settings. The other thing that I will say about Rex Atmos is it's very dependent on what type of weather you're experiencing at that particular moment and what time of day it is. So unfortunately, this is not like a set and forget type thing. From my experience so far, it looks like at least if you have major changes in weather or major changes in time of day, you need to have a different profile set for each one. That's what it seems like to me so far. So I would possibly think that we could set a partly cloudy day profile, with high sun, and then a stormy day profile, and then an evening and morning profile, those type of things. So that is something that is lacking here, but let's just look at what we have going on here. Uh, I'm going to click weather, and I already have a profile that I've kind of worked on, and the last thing that I worked on was kind of a nighttime setting, so I want to pull this up and see how it looks just without tweaking it at all. So you saw the screen kind of flash a little bit, and if I reset it, let me come back into this. You can kind of see the adjustments that were made a little bit. You can add humidity and cloud softness and visual enhancement of clouds. So it's kind of hard to notice the adjustments possibly on the recording, but in person you can see a definite change in the way that the clouds look. So you can see a big difference there with adjusting the humidity slider. So you could see as it's working through the different shaders that the image changes quite a bit. So one thing that I'm, seeing here as far as the weather goes, I think that we probably could do with a little bit more sharpness of the cloud. So I'm going to turn the softness down a little bit. And honestly, it's hard to see that any adjustment was made on that cloud or any of the clouds that I see. So it's kind of something that I'd have to be like up flying to actually see. But I'm going to call this good for the weather right now. And I'm going to go ahead and update that. And now I'm going to go into the next profile, which is the Atmos settings. So let me go ahead and activate the Atmos profile. And now you can see a dramatic difference in the way, very, very bright, very different, viewing of the entire sim. So one thing that I'm going to say that's different is the sky looks, a lot bluer in the picture than the way that the sim looks right now. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to kind of tweak this ozone adjustment up a bit. To try to match. And I would say that the sim's brightness appears a little bit much. Now this is a very, very high ozone setting, and typically I'm not up this high, but I want to just try to adjust live here while I'm talking with y'all. And you can go around and adjust these settings and sliders to kind of, at least to the best of your ability, make the image match with what you are seeing in your picture. So it's good to have a picture of the area just so you can kind of initially create your profile. And then once you create it, it should be something that you can just come back to. I'm going to take some of the lighting down a little bit. Okay. I'm liking that the way that the sky looks here, and I'm also liking how it kind of looks off in the distance. I would say maybe just looking right here versus looking right here, we can try to put a little bit more kind of a haziness off in the distance. So let me turn up this Rayleigh setting here a little bit, and it kind of, you see how it just very subtly changed the overall distant clouds settings or view. If I adjust it a lot, you can kind of see it kind of hazes up down here, but it also kind of puts kind of, I would say, brightness almost. So let me go back to very, very small adjustments are needed on some of these things. Okay. I'm gonna call that pretty good. I will say that the clouds have kind of almost a pinkish hue to them, which I'm not liking. And I've already kind of turned down all of the different ambient colors. Well, I guess I didn't all the way, so let me make sure I hit all of those down to 0. So that kind of added a yellowness to everything, so I'm going to barely and see, it's very hard to adjust this because it's by slider, and I have no control over the exact. And so you see here is that look how little I've moved those sliders, and look what it did to the image. So it's very difficult to adjust this. Set everything to 0 again. And I think some of these settings are kind of dependent on the other ones as well, so you'll see here in a second. I'm going to try to just barely touch. so extremely difficult to adjust this that I almost just want to just leave it set at 0. So let's just do that. So everything's set at 0 there. I just wish that I could get a slight more amount of blue, you know, up here in the sky. So, yes, they can wait. So I wish there was a way to get a little bit more blue there, but it's too hard to tweak these ambient color settings for that without an actual number. But I have noticed that when we get to this third profile, which is the environmental settings, that affects the overall image. So I'm going to go ahead and open the settings for that. And as you can see, now scene elements has dramatically changed everything. You can see the massive change that we just experienced when we switched from one to the other. Another thing that, you know, the sim has issues with, I think, by default, is the ground colors and the texture of trees and stuff tend to be like super saturated. So I definitely like to go through and make sure that I have kind of desaturated everything slightly. I think it looks more real when you're up at the sky level to have it less HDR color, more kind of a dull and muted colors. That's the way it looks for real. So I don't want the super high, you know, HDR color popping, super saturated colors. I want it to look real. So I'm able to use these adjustment sliders to kind of affect that and make it look more real. The thing that I'm still kind of not liking here is just the overall pinkness that is kind of occurring here on these clouds and in general. There's definitely a pinkness that doesn't, I mean, there's a slight pinkness here, you know, off in the distance, but not like this. So let's see if we can do anything about that. And again, with the sliders, you know, it's very sensitive. And see, I just barely nudged that, and that might be enough. I'm gonna see if I can just barely nudge the green also. And I think that about there. That looks pretty good to me. I think that tiny little bit of adjustment helped quite a bit. Now, the next thing I'll do is kind of try to look at this tree versus the tree that's here in the sim. And let's see if I can tweak the tree elements to be more similar. I would say that this looks very green This one has a little bit more red and yellow in it. So I'm gonna try to touch this red slider a little bit. Maybe touch up the blue slider, maybe touch the red down a little bit. And you see how much effect the green has, so we gotta be very careful with adjusting that green. It really, I've got a mouse where I have a little clicker on it that I can dial the DPI down so I can actually make my mouse move slower from my mouse. I have a little bit finer of a control on it. Now, I'm going to go ahead and say that that kind of redness and orange that I see on that tree is pretty similar to what I'm seeing there. I'm pretty happy with that. Just enough green in the dark areas and just enough orange-ish on it to see that there's a little bit of orange on the foliage section of it, and also not so blindingly, like, sickly overdose green that you usually see on those like ultra HDR type things. So I'm going to go ahead and update that profile. And now let me zoom out a little bit and give us kind of like not that much. Let's do a side by side. So now this is with, I'm going to go ahead and move this off the screen just so we can focus on the main image, and I'm also going to kind of zoom this back out to our speed my mouse back up there for us. Let's put that off, and I think this doesn't like it to have the sim that much in the background, but or I maybe there's something going on with the memory or something for the picture viewer and the sim running in the background together. But I would say that looks pretty close. It's not going to be perfect. I don't have the microfine adjustments that I wish we had on Rex Atmos, to have a keyboard and a numerical adjustment, I'd have much finer control over that, but this is the end product. So what I want to do now is completely remove the Rex Atmos shaders and then reapply them so that you can kind of see a side-by-side comparison. So I'm going to click the reset button here, and it's going to remove all of my profiles. So there you go. This is the default sim. This is with the weather effects profile added. This is with the atmosphere profile added. And this is with the environment profile added. So you can see what a major difference there is in the way that the image looks. So after, before. Weather, atmosphere, environment. So with that being said, I hope that that was a little bit of a tutorial on how to actually set the settings in here and kind of try to give you a little idea about how to adjust them for you. Of course, with colors, everything's going to be subjective. These are what look good to me. This is what looks good to my eye. I don't know how this looks to you. I don't know how this looks on your computer, but I'm trying to objectively compare a real image in the same location to the sim at the same location. So, and then adjust, side by side. That way there's a little bit more objectivity than subjectivity, but ultimately the way that you perceive it is all on you. So you've got to make these types of adjustments for yourself. There are presets, and I've gone through them, and I don't know. I think some people have a different perception of color than I do. I'll load them into my settings, and it will look just straight up pink everywhere. And I'm looking at it going, how does somebody, think that that looks correct to them? I don't know. But here is an idea for you to do. Get a real picture, go to that same place at the sim, set the date and time to the same, set your weather settings to the same, and then just try to adjust. And hopefully in a further version of Rex Atmos, they're going to replace these sliders, or at least add a number box here next to it where you can micro adjust in decimal points, and using the arrows on your keyboard as opposed to these sliders, because I hate sliders. It's very difficult to adjust. But I hope you enjoyed this video, and soon I will record a video of flying with these settings and with these profiles, and we can discuss more about Active Sky and Rex Atmos when we are flying next. So, shorter video today, but I wanted to make sure that I demoed both of these products and at least show you how to adjust the settings in Rex Atmos to look more real. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you enjoy this type of content, please consider subscribing to my channel. I'll be doing more and more flights and real kind of technical discussions about how to set up the aircraft and fly around and do all of the things that you do in Flight Simulator. And then as these different types of add-ons come out, as I buy them, uh, I'll go about how at least I'm adjusting them, or at least how I'm using them, or the research that I've done on how to make it work. I'll kind of go through that with you. So if you like this type of content, or you have any requests or anything, please leave it in the comments below, and I will try to answer you. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.